Hey, welcome back. Tell me, have you also spent the past 2 weeks silently crying in different parts of your house? No? Nice. Yeah, me neither. Are my eyes red right now? Stop looking. As promised, I asked Instagram for their documentary suggestions, and you guys had a really cute theme of really sad shit. And then one random aggravating doc with a crazy lady. I've just given up on wearing my glasses for a bunch of these watches because I just keep doing this shit. So it's like, what's the point? This is just adding an extra step to everything. Like, you know at the end of the Pokemon movie when Ash turns to stone and then all the Gyarados and Golducks and fucking Vileplumes are crying and then all their tears bring him back to life? I could have single-handedly resurrected that fucking idiot just off this lineup alone. I watched 4 disturbing documentaries. Again, we're just gonna keep doing this until something goes wrong. They are Unknown Number, the high school catfish, The Dying Rooms, Boy Interrupted, and the 3 deaths of Marisela Escobedo. We're gonna start with, by far, the most requested out of the bunch, and then we'll move on from there. Also, the next round of suggestions will all come from this comment section. So, have at it. By the way, I'm not gonna say there were a ton of red flags in that doc, but there was something to look at, which we kind of ignored and we shouldn't have. And we need to stick with that mindset, especially when it comes to your health. You ever feel an odd ache, a nagging cough, something's not right, but you think, I'll be all right, which you very well could be, but we also don't want things to get worse. That's where today's sponsor, ZocDoc, comes in. A free website which you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors. Choose the right one for your needs and instantly book an appointment. I don't have a primary care doctor. I don't know which YouTuber does. Luckily with ZocDoc, I can choose one that fits my needs. There's in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across nearly every specialty, from dental health, eye care, skin care, and much more. You can also see individual doctors' ratings and reviews, which I very much believe in. I believe in having individual doctors be rated because I've spoken with phenomenal doctors who were attentive and communicative, and I've also had the opposite at the same location. You can filter doctors by location, insurance, rating, specialty, and also, you can see their actual appointment openings. Choose a time that works for you, and click to instantly book a visit. It really is that easy. No more surprise out-of-network bills, no more endless Google searches, just a few clicks and you can book an appointment, often within 24 to 72 hours. While I was looking around, I found same-day appointments with highly rated doctors that are close by. You don't even have to talk to anyone, just book with a few clicks. So, take care of you and make health a priority. Go to ZocDoc.com/MistaGG, also linked in the description, to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. And thank you, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this video. Oh me, oh my. Oh Captain, my Captain. Now, disturbing is an adjective that can be used to describe this situation. But this doc is very dialed down from what we're used to. I mean, I watched a guy embalm people for 90 minutes in the last episode. And this is just a catfish story? Open arms. Come here. My silly little catfish. With your whiskers, you're so bad. The story actually is fucked, but you'll be fine. This is Lauren and her boyfriend, Owen. Things are perfect between them. They're the golden couple of Beale City. Where? Correct. A tiny town in Michigan where the school houses preschoolers all the way to seniors. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, if the away team has this logo, I'm gonna safely assume we're losing that game. Like our team's probably called like the Bisons or some shit, and we're up against Robo Pegasus or whatever the fuck this is. Nah, this is tough. We're losing by 30. Anyway, so one day, Lauren and Owen both get put in a group text with an unknown number that we'll call Lucifer. Lucy for short, basically starts talking shit to Lauren while saying that Owen is actually theirs. I don't know what Owen's been telling you, but we're actually gonna bone at the party that you're not invited to. And they obviously have no clue who this is. But whoever it is has access to both of their phone numbers and somehow knows about their actual plans. Because that party was a real thing. It's very odd, but then it's done with. 11 months later, they get messaged again. It's someone that clearly doesn't like that they're together, because they keep claiming that Owen loves them and could never love her ugly ass, referring to Lauren. And this person is also referring to Lauren as Lo, which is a nickname that very few people call her. And at this point, the messages are starting to come in daily. This person's even picking up on what's happening at school sometimes, what Lauren's wearing. Here's an example. And by the way, these text messages are all 100% real and exact. Effing trash, bitch. Don't effing wear leggings. Ain't no one wanna see your anorexic flat ass. I think that'll rattle any 9th grader's confidence, right? Not a very nice message. But Lucy also says some dirty shit too regarding Owen. Owen and I down to suck finger fuck. Who needs commas at a time like this? His dick and fingers? my pussy and mouth. The gang's all here. These text messages are starting to come in 30, 40, 50 clips a day. And here's one more nasty one, and I promise this will be important. I'm not just being a child giggling at obscenities. My fucking tits in his face? Fucking make him horny. Make it cream. Make it cream. Make it cream. Next time after sex, I want you to look at your partner and ask earnestly, did you cream? I cream. Did you cream? Now there proceeds to be a slew of dumb shit said here and hypothesized at this point in the doc. Because the superintendent is asking Lauren to message him whenever Lucy is texting her so he can watch the school cameras and see who's on their phone. Which, oh, look at that. Fucking everybody is. And also, the delay from the text to you to a camera check is a fucking dingus ass plan. Him describing him doing this just sounds like he's doing dick all. Listen, superintendent, no offense, but if you need someone to be useless watching a bunch of cameras, I know a guy.
That's a lot.
Owen's mom also tries pushing for a cell phone policy at the school to have them put away, saying, why should my kid be allowed to look at all these texts coming in when they should be learning? Which doesn't solve the problem at all. Might as well tell him to close his eyes. Don't look Owen. He wants sex, BJs, and make it out. He don't want your sorry ass. I mean, what more does a fella need? Sex? BJs? Shit, make it out, surprise. That's my holy trinity. Genies hate to see me coming. And boy, do they. Now, unfortunately, Lauren and Owen break up because of fights regarding everything happening. And Owen thinks this might actually help the problem go away, but it doesn't. Instead, Lucifer takes the kick 'em while they're down route and starts telling Lauren to kill herself, that Owen wants to smash her head into a wall, and sends texts like, warning, you finish yourself before we do. So yeah, her life's being threatened, and Officer Mike Main gets involved. This part is also kind of stupid because Lucy starts talking smack after Lauren doesn't do well in a basketball game. Wow, dumb bitch went under the screen when her assignment is 52% from beyond the arc on the season. That wasn't the actual text. That was just a meme for my ball watchers out there. Basketballs, specifically. Lucifer brags about how many points they scored a couple games ago. And these doofuses go look up past game stats and find that stat line belonged to Chloe Wilson, Owen's friend who Lauren has claimed would try to make her jealous with Owen. Which, sure, the dots are technically connecting, but why would Chloe out herself like this? I get it if the 9th graders are buying into this, but why did the adults even let this breathe? Someone's clearly framing Chloe, poorly at that. And get this, one of Lucifer's many numbers used changed to a Florida zip code right after Chloe went to vacation in Florida. Another clue. Why in the fuck would someone clearly using burner numbers change it to temporarily fit their vacation spot's area code? Like, I get we're also just telling the whole story, so, you know, everyone's forced to talk about everything, but I'm hoping they weren't that hung up on stupid stuff like this. Hoping. Because it did take awfully long to discover who it actually was. Chloe volunteers to have her phone completely extracted to clear her name. They find nothing. And then Lucy brags about having their phone dumped and the cops finding nothing. So Chloe's no longer a suspect, as far as I'm concerned. We're dealing with a moron as well. Nobody is satisfied with the progress in the case so far. Lauren's mom thinks the school is doing a terrible job of handling this. Owen's mom isn't able to sleep and is stressing daily. Lauren is still getting texts like, no one ever wants your anorexic flat ass and tits. No dude ever touching that pussy, you nasty slut. Saying these texts out loud is actually fucking insane. Owen starts talking to a girl hours away from where he lives. And one day, her mom gets a text threatening her that Owen is theirs. Lucy found another one. He breaks it off with her for her sake, but feels trapped. This person is really keeping a close eye on him.
A lot of aggression on the basketball court was something that we noticed.
And that actually just upped his game to another level. That kid would grow up to be LeBron James. Officer Mike Main feels like he's exhausted all options. He's talked to a few kids, he saw how many free throws Chloe shot that one day, the leads have gone cold. So it's time for the big dogs to step in, and he gives his report to the FBI. And Agent Bradley Peter, I haven't gotten the chance to use this clip in years, he basically does the RIP Tiny Lister from Dark Knight.
Give it to me, and I'll do what you should've did 10 minutes ago.
But just imagine he said 6 months. Instead, Bradley tries to figure out what company owns these burner numbers, and he discovers at least one of them came from an app called Pinger. Warrant. They give up the IP addresses associated with that number. Oh, hey, Verizon. Warrant. Verizon gives them the numbers possibly associated with those IP addresses. So Owen dumps some of his contacts over to cross-reference, but they don't find a match. But he also only shared the numbers of some of his classmates. So Owen and his mom Jill say, fuck it, just dump all of our contacts. Grandma, Grandpa, DoorDash. And finally, there's only one number that keeps appearing that matches the IP address. And that number belongs to Kendra Lakari. It's you? It's you! That's Lauren's mom, by the way. This one right here. The one that's been telling us the story. Okay, so where do we start? I'll save the insults for later because we still have more to unpack, but I'm a bit confused at some of the testimonial that Kendra's given up to this point. Like, was she supposed to be playing a little dumb? Like playing along?
Unfortunately, in my opinion, I don't think the school handled things very well.
Didn't handle what well? You? The things you were doing? Can you complain about that? I'm sorry, Kendra. What would you have preferred the school done to combat your felony stalking and abuse of your daughter?
This is where I started to really kind of think, okay, is somebody on the high school team jealous?
Why are you even saying this? Why are you hypothesizing? Did they tell you to try and mislead us, or are you actually just insane? Some of what she says makes no sense unless she was directed to really play along, to try and mess with us. Which, side note, this is the same director, Skye Borgman, of Girl in the Picture, which is a phenomenal documentary that I also covered. I don't like this one as much, but fun fact. Anyways, what the hell do we do now? It's been 20 months since the very first text, and our primary suspect, backed by evidence, is Lauren's own mother, who has been trying to help with the case. Oh, by the way, she's a volunteer scorekeeper on the basketball team. I scored 12 points. It's Chloe. Come on, guys! Kendra helps out at the school. She's always around. Her daughter probably talked to her about everything in her life, so she always had some ammo. And she also has a background in IT. The good thing is that this is a crime. So we get treated to some good old-fashioned body cam footage of when they go to not only confront Kendra and tell her family, but also seize her devices with a search warrant. And I was making all types of noises while watching this part, because I was very upset. You'll understand why. She briefly tries to lie, but she knows that's a dead end, gives in quick. But she tells police she was not that first text sent many months ago. She was the one that started it back up. She fed off the initial text, which I think is bullshit, but hold that thought. They bring Lauren in to break the news to her, and I hikey hate how gently the officer delivers the news here. Like, I get it's a child, and she's going through a lot. He's not even like, it was fucking her. He didn't do that. He just tells her, hey, your mom didn't start it, but she did pick it up. Sometimes when we're silly billies, we do silly billy things. It's a fucking crime, officer. Felony stalking. Take her to the slammer. And during this, Kendra has the audacity to start gently caressing her daughter, as if they're both here having terrible news broken to them. Let go of her. You told your daughter to kill herself. His dick and fingers, my pussy and mouth. Get away from her, you sicko. Lauren says nothing and just has a blank stare, and I can't even blame her for this reaction because she just got told her mom has been the one relentlessly harassing her and making her life terrible for the last year or so. Oh, but we're not done, Paco. There is more. The cop tells Lauren to call her dad to come down here so they can talk to him too. And they call him and they tell him it's his wife, and he speeds over because he said, what? Who's my wife? My wife. And luckily he's here too because he reveals that Kendra has more than one phone, even though she denied she did right before this. She confesses that it's stashed on the side of the house after they tell her, we got a warrant. We can just rip your house apart and fuck everything up. It's up to you. She's like, all right, fair enough. It's by the gardening. So in addition to bullying these children into oblivion, wasting so many people's time and resources, she now has to answer to her husband, who's not even talking about any of that. He's busted up because he learns that she does not have a job and has been lying about having one for about 6 months to a year. Lied about quitting one job, she was fired. She's been pretending to work all this time, but in reality, she's just been doing this. Oh, and she's the bookkeeper of the house, handles the finances. They've had to move multiple times, got evicted. They lost a ton of their personal belongings on a storage unit that she stopped paying for. She has been actively destroying this family. And poor Lauren is obviously emotional hearing all of this, and don't worry, mommy's right here. She'll protect you from all this truth in the air. Dad tells Kendra to go to your parents' house. You're not staying here tonight.
I can't leave her.
Alone. You can't leave her alone. It's kind of been the whole issue. She's got nerve saying, I need to stay with my daughter while she's hugging and kissing her. Oh, it hurts my soul. I wouldn't shut the hell up when I was watching. I just, is someone gonna stop? Someone stop her. Remove her, officer. Anyway, now we get to hear Kendra's side of things. Buckle up.
You guys are gonna think I'm the crazy lady.
Yes.
Every single one of us makes mistakes.
Everybody has those days.
And realistically, a lot of us have probably broke the law at some point or another and not got caught.
That is true. Where are you going with this?
I'm sure there people drove drunk, haven't been caught, right?
Weird example, but sure. You're not comparing what you did to, right?
But again, if you get caught, you're in the same situation and I'm in, but for a different thing.
You're in the same situation I'm in, but for a different thing. We look alike, but we also don't.
I do feel that, people lose sight of that.
What? That's your defense? Come on, we've all gone over the speed limit. This guy gets it. Remember when you forgot to scan that one item in the self-checkout that one time? You're a thief. We're the same. So Kendra basically tells us that we judge, but that's because we don't know her story. And we start getting some background on her. And I guess she likes attention, and we hear some positive things about her, like she's done things that mothers do, like take care of her daughter. So yeah, there's a point. And she still stands by the claim that she did not begin the texting. That was someone else entirely. And then like 11 months later, she started doing it, even though it had already died down. And her reasoning for doing it was to try and figure out who it originally was. Listen closely. So her plan was send the text, and she thought Lauren was gonna reply to her with like, oh, is this blank? And crack the case. Even saying, yeah, and plus the kids are gonna start talking about it in school. And when they start talking about it in school, they're possibly gonna drop some clues. And maybe we crack the case.
I started in the thoughts of, we need some answers.
Okay, so hypothetically, let's say that's a really dumb fucking reason to start doing that. You know, you could just like talk to your daughter and see who she thinks it is. Maybe your daughter can just ask people at school and see what they think. Maybe you don't need to tell your daughter that she has a flat ass and should die. Hypothetically, of course. But yeah, she says that's why she started, but then she just kept going.
I don't think I knew how to stop.
Not the R&B shot, come on. You got it bad. You guys remember when Usher walked in from the rain, just fucking pissing all over the place? Just take off the beanie, dog. It's soaked. Kendra refers to the anorexic comments that were kind of her bread and butter. But to clear things up, she said those things because she had picked up on one of Lauren's insecurities, which... Wait, so what?
But honestly, the messages weren't really targeted at her insecurities.
At you.
That very well, possibly.
Oh my God. Let's unpack that. No, don't give her that out. All that really mean shit you said to your poor 14-year-old daughter, were you really just talking to 14-year-old you? No, I think the interviewer's just being very kind to you. You were bullying your daughter.
That little girl was 14 years old.
Actively bullying your own daughter. She's a cyberbully. I don't like cyberbullies.
I don't like cyberbullies, and you're a cyberbully.
She is then asked if she was afraid if Lauren would hurt herself because the whole, kill herself shenanigans that was going on. And she says, no, I was not, because I know Lauren. Conversations we've had. If I didn't know her like I know her, probably be a different story. Oh, okay. So if it was another kid that you weren't so close to, there might be room for concern. Gotcha. Hey, how well do you know Owen? So this is where some people start to theorize why she did this. Like the superintendent thinks it's cyber Munchausen's. So like, put your daughter through hell and now she needs you all the time. Woo. I'm the hero. Jill and Owen, I think she was just obsessed with Owen, which is honestly where I lean, only because of what's in the messages. Aside from telling her offspring to off herself, it was always under the base of Owen is mine. I'm cheating on you with Owen. He doesn't want you, he wants me. She even went for the mom of the random girl he liked. Didn't even have anything to do with Lauren. This woman is sitting there 8 hours a day, role-playing as this 14-year-old's lover.
Owen and I down to suck finger fuck.
I want to speak with you for a minute.
Because if it was cyber Munchausen's or whatever the hell, she could have just messaged Lauren directly and messaged her mean shit. That has nothing to do with Owen, and it would provide similar results, right? Kind of like a you're in the same situation I'm in, but for a different thing, huh? Come on, you get it. Kendra's sentenced to 19 months in prison. And Lauren wants to keep in contact with her mother because she feels lost without her, even though people may judge her for it. So they talked while she was in prison, and we see a bunch of her cute messages sent back and forth. Juxtaposition. Kendra does tell us about trauma she had when she was young, which, that's terrible, yes. She also says she didn't want Lauren to go through the same thing and wanted to protect her, and it ends with them still not seeing each other after she's released from prison. And that's the doc that you guys really wanted me to watch, and I see why. Is it disturbing? Once again, technically, yeah, but not in the ways that we have been disturbed in the past. But hey, something tells me that's gonna change very, very soon. Next doc. Firstly, I think this is an excellent documentary. This is an instant recommendation for me. I know some of you out there just seek reviews, but if you are the type to pause the video and go watch it first, this is one of those docs in my opinion. Just make sure that you come back, please. everybody leaves. This doc is an hour and 49 minutes, and honestly, I'm just very happy that this wasn't put in the wrong hands, and or the Netflix overlords didn't demand this be turned into a docuseries. Because if you go off the title, this is a layup for 3 episodes. And it would have been genuinely easy to fluff this story because there are so many moving parts. I'm just slowly starting to hate docuseries, and I can't stand a fucking docuseries that does not respect my time, that clearly does not respect my time. I get there's a demographic that wants the endless background noise to keep the demons at bay, but that's not me. I use YouTube for that. Marisela Escobedo is a mother living in Ciudad Juarez in Chihuahua, a city that can be considered very dangerous with an abundance of cartel activity. That will play a large role in this story, along with the nearly guaranteed side effect of that: corruption. One day, a man named Sergio walks into Marisela's wood shop and furniture store. He's looking for a job. She throws him a bone, and that's where he meets Marisela's daughter, Ruby. They end up forming a relationship. Sergio is around 21 years old, and Ruby is just 13. Unrelated, Chris Hansen is in some news footage at the beginning of the doc. I only heard his voice, and then just the sleeper agent was activated immediately. Marisela obviously doesn't approve, but she doesn't want her daughter to hate her either by interfering with her life. Sergio eventually takes her away to live with him. She gets pregnant a year or 2 after, gives birth to a beautiful baby girl, and at the time, Sergio is not working. Marisela is helping them, feeding Ruby, giving her money, giving them an apartment to live in. She's doing a lot for them. And then suddenly, that apartment is empty. They track Sergio down and find him with his daughter, but no sign of Ruby. He tells them that she ran off with another guy and that's all he knows. And the next day, Sergio is now also gone. So, what the hell do you do now? Well, you go to the police. However, the police don't see any real reason to file a police report. They seem to think, okay, well, your daughter left. That's what's being said, and there are no signs of foul play. What exactly are you reporting? That's a fucking insane response, but thanks, officer. It takes Marisela a month and a half to be able to just file the police report. And this will unfortunately be a trend. The system actively fighting against her, seeking answers, seeking justice. And even with the police report filed, they're rather useless. They've just got it on the books now. Basically, we got someone else to write it down. Marisela and her family are the ones going out to bars and brothels where you can find very young girls working as prostitutes, as they fear she might have been trafficked. They're going around placing flyers everywhere and even offering a reward for any information. And somebody surprisingly calls them and tells them straight that Sergio pulled up to a group of friends one night asking for some help with furniture. Hours later, Sergio's brother returns after helping and just tells them that he killed his girlfriend Ruby, and they dumped her body at the landfill in a garbage drum and burned her. Now, the guy telling her this was afraid to speak up, but he was convinced by his mother to help this woman because his sister was also murdered. However, to get things rolling, they need this man to also testify, which Marisela convinces him to also do. Now the police start looking for Ruby. And wouldn't you know it, the police track down Sergio. That's a fucking lie. Marisela buys the information off of somebody regarding his location and has agents knocking at his door in Zacatecas. Marisela was hell-bent on not letting her daughter become a statistic. When agents pull up on him, he immediately starts talking about Ruby. I know why you guys are here, blah, blah, blah. But they were actually there on charges of abduction of a minor because he had taken their daughter across state lines. And she's supposed to still be alive right now. That was a bit of a slip up, but he talks to them and he reveals the location of Ruby's remains, and they do find them. Apparently, Ruby had left him 3 days before she was murdered, and now a court date is set. And Marisela is not planning on taking her foot off the gas, by the way. Starts marching for her daughter, urging the courts to throw the book at Sergio to try and combat the impunity and femicide that the public has seen and experienced firsthand. The date of the trial was here. They move through witness after witness, and Marisela is allowed to address the court at the end of it, which she does, along with addressing Sergio directly. The video is extremely fuzzy, but it doesn't look like she's reading off anything, even though there are some shuffled papers in front of her. She delivers a speech with no fear. It's raw, poignant. Some of the points she makes are, she wishes she had chosen the temporary hate from her daughter pulling her away from him than the permanent pain that she feels now. She tells Sergio directly, I don't forgive you. May God forgive you. We don't have a cause of death, and that's good. I don't think I could carry that pain as well. Let him carry it alone. After today, this man no longer exists to me. I leave him to you, addressing the judges. Sergio was awarded the same option of addressing the court, which he does. He apologizes to Marisela, talks about how he has now found God in jail, which, funny place to find that guy. It's like he's everywhere. And almost like a child being told by his parents to apologize, he talks out of the side of his mouth for a lackluster apology that anybody in the court can see through. On April 29th, 2010, the court unanimously acquits Sergio of the accusations against him, and he walks free. And once that's read aloud, nobody can believe it. Marisela justifiably bursts into tears and throws her stuff down. And I want to quickly clarify, the scene is chaotic, but as far as I can tell, it's not like Sedhill was about to get jumped or anything like that. I think she was just storming out of the courtroom in outrage. So the question now is, in what world do we arrive at this verdict? Well, apparently the judges say that the case did not meet the burden of proof, even though he apparently said that he did it. He confessed to the crime and apologized to her in court. They have a body, but with no eyewitnesses or hard scientific evidence, a confession was apparently not enough. Marisela immediately begins marching again the very next day, saying that with the verdict, they killed Ruby all over again. Nobody could believe the verdict, and you know who else didn't? Sedhill. They file a motion before the appeals court and they declare his acquittal null and void, and he's declared guilty. But guess who already fled because they knew it would be quickly overturned? So, whose job is it to find him now? If you answer the police, you're correct. But that doesn't mean shit. Marisela visits different prosecutors hand-delivering his arrest warrant, marches, gathers media attention, and has the thought, we should just go back and check Zacatecas. Because last I saw him, he had another girl pregnant. He's probably with her. And while hanging posters there, two girls approach them and tell them that they know where he's at. And Marisela has now found him before the police 2 times now. And I can't even properly describe, let alone believe, the botched operation that would follow. Police pull up to his location. And you know who sees him going out the bathroom window in the back? Marisela's son, Juan, not an officer. The cops did not call for backup. I assume there wasn't a perimeter set or anything. Everyone else showed up late and they fired up some shots just to make sure the gun still fucking worked. Sedhill was armed, but also just one guy jungle gymming a building. Zero clue how he gets away. Did I mention that? He gets away. I could probably point out a few ways that were leading that operation. At this point, there is zero faith in police or the system to do anything. Marisela gets back out there and hears about a location that Sedhill is probably at now. So she rents a house with a view of that location and stakes it out for 2 to 3 months. They've also heard rumors that he has since joined the cartel, but they brush it off and just assume it's some sort of scare tactic. And one night, they finally see him. He drives off, they follow him, and he quickly realizes they're following him. They recognize him as easily as he recognizes them. Given the vehicle he's in and the call records that Marisela has been studying, they have reason to believe that he is actually now working for the cartel. Fast forward a bit, Marisela finds somebody else that gives her a ton of information, more than she even wanted. The ins and outs, the location of a safe house, who the top dog there is. So she now has all this information that she needs to pin him down yet again, finding him for, what would it be now, the 3rd or 4th time? But there's a different problem now. Well, I mean, technically it's the same problem, useless police, but for a different reason, a really fucking dangerous one. The agents that she speaks to straight up tell her, we need permission from the cartel first to arrest him. So if you thought the police were useless before, you should be thankful that they were at least role-playing earlier. After this new development with the cartel, they lose all of the half-hearted support that they initially had. So now, what in the world is there to do? You're up against everyone. You're up against the bad guys pretending to be good, and the few good that wouldn't dare cross the bad. Marisela decides to camp outside the government palace of Chihuahua. Cesar Duarte is the governor there, and at this point, she feels a certain way, so she lets him know how she feels during a speech with a big-ass banner that she pulls up mid-speech that essentially says, justice is the privilege of the government, meaning they are the only ones entitled to it, because the governor's nephew was kidnapped, and they got him back rather quickly. The DA's brother was also kidnapped, and they found the guys who did it in a couple days. The governor isn't a fan of criticism, so he catches up with her and tells her to speak with the state attorney, and she decides to fill out a full report and gives him all the information that she got of Sedhill's whereabouts and the cartel. And she goes back to camping outside the palace, getting ready to spend the Christmas holiday right there. And somehow, at this point in the doc, it finally hit me that I hadn't seen Marisela speak in present day. It hadn't occurred to me because I had been hearing her narrate the story in certain experiences, but it must have been audio from other sources and I didn't even realize it. December 16th, 2010. Marisela is camping out still and starts to clean up around 8 p.m. A car pulls up, she sees him coming, and she starts to run across the street as the gunman chases her and then shoots her once in the back of the head. And she is killed right in front of the government palace. The demonstrations begin, candles are lit. She's returned to Ciudad Juarez to bury, and her son Juan is a great speaker in his own right, trying to describe this feeling to the audience. And we also watch footage of his eulogy. At this point while watching, I'm just a mess at this point. He's fighting through every single word he's delivering. I can't. But now there's something else on the horizon. Firemen pull up to a wood shop engulfed in flames. It's Marisela's. After they're able to control the fire, they find a body. Marisela's boyfriend was usually opening up the shop in the morning, but with her passing, his brother opened it up that day. They found him with a bag over his head and wire around his neck. Juan tells us later that he got word that they came to his house looking for him, but luckily he wasn't home. And it's at this time they realize they need to leave. Juan requested asylum in the US and he luckily got it, and he vowed to continue the fight just from the US. And regardless, things are looking terrible for the governor right about now. Someone's just been killed on their doorstep, and it's not just anybody. It's somebody who has been relentless in trying to get you motherfuckers to do something about Ruby and all the unanswered femicide in the city. Your loudest critic, coincidentally, just got silenced, and now everybody's got their eyes on you. How do you respond? Well, they catch Marisela's killer. Jose, nicknamed Wicked, is in cuffs, and they say they have the necessary evidence to put him away. He killed Marisela. But there's a small problem. That's not the guy. Marisela's brother is the only eyewitness to the murder, and he says it's not him. In fact, they claim the killer is Sergio's brother, Andy. They give her brother a photographic lineup of suspects, and he chooses Andy. People in the neighborhood had heard that Andy was threatening to hurt Marisela, and in her report that she gave, she accused Andy of showing up to her home to kill her. And if you watch the footage of Wicked, he seems reluctant through the whole process. Tells his defender, let's just get this over with. And the evidence they have, the irrefutable evidence, is the gun used, but they don't have any proof that Wicked pulled the trigger, besides his confession. Isn't that ironic? Some time passes, and Wicked tells his defender, that's enough. I didn't do this. They tortured me into a confession and threatened my wife and kid. What am I supposed to do? And upon hearing this, the defender tells the judge what he told them and sees if they can go through the Istanbul protocol to see if he's been tortured. But she still advises Wicked that they believe they can actually defend him well. The only witness on scene doesn't think it's you. December 31st, 2014, the Attorney General's office announced that Wicked has died of a heart attack. Whoever the powers may be, scrapped together a pawn, put him in front of the world to take a fall, and at the first sign of non-compliance, killed him, even while in a maximum security prison. And it wasn't a damn heart attack. His mom demanded an autopsy afterwards, and they discovered he was strangled by a cellmate. Heart attack. Imagine finding this guy, specifically this guy, for what he's involved in. He's gotta be what, in his early 30s, if that, lifeless on the floor, and your first thought is, this guy's got a heart condition. Write that down. In 2012, Sergio was found dead after a shootout with the military. Had nothing to do with the case, by the way. Just a random shootout. The filmmakers actually surprised me at the end and speak with Andy, who's in prison at the time. Nothing to do with the case. I believe he's in there for robbery. He tells them that he's not the killer, but that yes, his brother was clearly the one that ordered that hit. But he stays firm in the fact that he did not pull the trigger. And at the end of the day, and it sucks to admit, nobody was brought to justice. Sergio just died in a gunfight, and Andy got locked up for some other shit. Justice was never awarded to Marisela or to Ruby, and it's a tragic ending. Bittersweet as they make sure to remember Marisela and what she did. They march for her on every anniversary. She's a hero to many, and she deserves the notoriety that this documentary hopefully helps spread. In unrelated news, Cesar Duarte was later extradited to Mexico to face charges of public corruption. It's disturbing. I recommend it. Next doc. The Dying Rooms is a rather short television documentary from the mid-90s. Filmmakers from the UK travel to China in the effort to solidify the rumors of quote-unquote dying rooms in local orphanages. And these dying rooms are unfortunately exactly what they sound like. So China used to have a one-child policy that not only was very strictly enforced, and that's putting it lightly, but it apparently resulted in infanticide and babies just being abandoned more and more. If they were lucky, at a well-run orphanage. But I'd venture to say many weren't. Another issue, at least at the time, having a son was far more important than having a daughter in China. The son could carry the family line, That was highly valued. So oftentimes, it wasn't even that they had a second child that they couldn't keep. If their first child was a girl, they would then have to accept the fact that they can never have a son. So these orphanages are filled with girls and or children that are disabled, because I guess you would never abandon a healthy boy. And we get countless examples of the favoritism, which is too kind a word to describe it, honestly. Girls were called Laidi or Jaldi, which apparently means something along the lines of have a baby boy next. So they were using the birth of their baby girl, stamping her name as a permanent manifestation of a boy to hopefully follow. And someone has to say it. Not cool, China. I'm sorry, I needed one break in the tension of the script. This is all sad. This whole fucking thing's sad. It's about to get sadder. This is all I got. So they make their way to an orphanage, and it's run well. Every baby in their own crib, individually tended to, given their bottles. There seems to be a fair amount of staff on hand, which is good to see. But they believe that this isn't all that's out there. And the orphanages that they're looking for are not easy to find. They suspect it's because unwanted children bring shame to the country. So to see the orphanages, you have to work a bit. Even their local driver having to ask the locals for directions. One orphanage they visit is a different story. It seems as if just an adolescent girl is looking over a group of children. The smell of sour milk and urine filling the air. There are children with untreated gangrene. From the footage we see, it seems to be just kids taking care of kids, if that. And the next orphanage is worse. This also apparently being an orphanage that had recently received a substantial grant from the government. There are toddlers tied up to what they call a potty bench. They aren't roaming around. They're not allowed to be curious. They're bound, sat on bamboo to just soil themselves and have whatever excess fall into a bucket. I don't know for how long. There's no guarantee at what temperatures they may continue to do this. They just try to rock back and forth trying to get some sort of stimulation. And it's insane because a local party official shows up once he heard that foreigners were at the orphanage. And you would think, oh, he's gonna blow the whistle. It's over. But he apparently buys into their cover story and just starts freely talking over tea. And his honesty baffles me, especially because all we heard about the cover story is that they're supposed to be workers from an American orphanage, which I don't know how that breathes a sigh of relief into anybody. Respectfully, why the hell do I care? Especially when you have cameras? They have hidden cameras too, but they apparently openly document quite often. I'm sure there's more there, but it's not mentioned, at least in the cut I watched. But he tells them none of the workers have proper training. Staff is in and out. Last year, 400 little girls were dumped there, and our group of filmmakers say that they only saw a little over a dozen at the time of their visit, meaning they either passed away or they were adopted. And given the living conditions that were shown, it's hard to believe in the latter. They do manage to find a privately run orphanage, which survives solely on charitable donations. And it's a very, very different story. Kids outside playing, taken care of. It makes you wonder how much money some of these state-run orphanages are either lacking and or severely mishandling. The group does not end up finding a quote-unquote dying room as initially described until they reach an orphanage on the outskirts of one of the richest cities in China. And I hate that I watched this doc twice. They approach a room that seems to only house disabled children until they hear noises in a crib completely covered. And it is a haunting sight of this poor baby girl that apparently has acute liver failure, deficient in vitamin B and C, and impetigo on her head. The staff told them her health was perfectly normal. She is extremely pale, and I fully thought that when they pulled back the blanket that I was looking at an unresponsive child. And somehow that's not their worst discovery, because in this dark room off to the side, there is another baby girl there, who was apparently left there 10 days ago. The staff has refused to re-enter the room and check up on her. They're simply waiting for one of the other children to go in there and report to the staff that they have died. She looks severely malnourished. Her eyes seem to have these, I can't even tell, patches of gunk that have gathered up over the days. She's very, very still when approached, only shaking her head a few times. And her name is apparently Mei Ming, which means no name. And the lasting shot is Mei Ming barely able to even muster up a semblance of a cry. She died 4 days later, after they found her, and the orphanage has since denied that she ever existed. I did manage to find a version that included some extra footage and I guess another doc titled Return to the Dying Rooms, but it's very difficult to find a whole lot of information on it. China obviously denied a lot of what was discussed in the film, even made a response documentary titled The Dying Rooms, A Patchwork of Lies, claiming that the filmmakers would do stuff like film a random storage room and then claim multiple newborns passed away there. Claim that the children in the potty benches were handicapped children that they couldn't monitor 24/7. The kids couldn't control themselves. They would make themselves and other children dirty, so this was a temporary solution to that. They even mentioned Mei Ming said it was a child, emphasized it was a boy, I guess to get him with a gotcha on that, with blisters around his eyes, who was receiving medicine around the clock to try and take care of him. Even criticized the filmmakers for uncovering the child since it was very cold there that day. Said they even left the baby uncovered after they left the room, throwing a little alleged mistreatment their way. And listen, at the end of the day, you can believe who you'd like to believe. Is it possible these filmmakers took some liberties to make things look worse than they actually are? Absolutely. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, and it is possible the clarification is out there, but I'm sometimes curious where they get some of their information from. For example, at the last orphanage, who told them that Mei Ming had been left there for 10 days unchecked as the nurses just waited around? Was it the other children there that told them that? I don't believe the nurses are feeding over this information because they tell us right before that the nurses lied to them, telling them the other girl was in perfect health. So why would they be honest about Mei Ming if they're trying to cover their ass over here? Also, how did they get this baby girl's accurate diagnosis to begin with? Did they have someone on the inside that fed over the real information to them later? I know you could obviously look at this poor baby and make assumptions with what you're seeing, but they tell us a very specific diagnosis, very matter of fact. I doubt the kids knew any of that. And the nurses are lying, at least that's what you're telling us, so I just wish they would fill in some of those blanks. Like, even if it was the kids that told them about Mei Ming's situation, I think it's important to tell us that. And that obviously isn't me dismantling the entire doc, but it is a light criticism of something that could have been easily cleared up or maybe just emphasized if I missed it. And I would be remiss to also point out, are all the points made in the doc so easily refutable, like China seems to believe? Is all the footage able to be explained away? I don't think so. I really don't. And I clearly have my reservations when a whole ass country rises up to rebuttal a documentary that makes them look very bad. The government put this shit together. They have so much power and so many arms to have people say anything for them. Is it disturbing? Yes. Would I recommend it? I do think it did highlight something very important and unfortunate at the time, something that could possibly still be prevalent to this day, even if they did take some liberties to fluff it up a bit. If you do choose to seek it out, it is a quick 38-minute watch. Next doc. Okay, can I be honest about this one and no one's gonna get mad? Do you promise? Promise? I thought this doc was a little slow. I'm sorry. Just a tad. And yeah, I get it. It's a slow burn, sure. I just remember at one point, I don't remember how deep into the doc I was, but just checking in with myself and confirming, we're gonna hang in there. We're gonna hang in there. And listen, I'm glad I did. This isn't a bad doc by any means. I think a film like this is needed. You will feel very uncomfortable as you watch a child so calmly discuss death and how they're almost excitedly planning their own. Evan Scott Perry is our focus for this documentary. This was made by his parents. His mom, Dana, is a director and his father, Hart, is a cinematographer. They're a family of filmmakers. They've documented Evan's life since he was incredibly young. I almost still can't believe it, but Evan started talking about suicide when he was just 5 years old, talking about how his uncle had done it and even said that he himself wanted to jump out a window. And this is exactly why I think a film like this is needed. I'll be honest, I couldn't have fathomed the thought of a kindergartner saying something like that. Emma gets diagnosed with depression, and once again, I'm learning something. I was over here thinking I was the progressive one in my family, even though I genuinely wouldn't have thought this to be a thing. A 5-year-old with depression? I guess I just always imagined that at the earliest, something like this forming around adolescence. But Evan would talk about killing family members, said that he wanted cancer. When he was 7 or 8, his mom didn't feel comfortable documenting this, but she felt like people did not and would not believe her when she would relay the things Evan said and did. So we're showing photos of him showing her how he was going to hang himself by jumping off the bunk bed. His psychiatrist is interviewed here, and he's a little annoying, but he doesn't ruin my experience. This might just be a personal thing, but I just feel like he's playing a psychiatrist. Does that make sense? Like, he just likes to hear himself talk, which I know is fucking rich coming from me, but I don't know, maybe just intelligent people like hearing their intelligence out loud. I don't know, I don't have a degree. At age 9, we see Evan singing about death with the lyrics, "Somebody kill me please." At age 10, he's writing plays, which on one hand is really neat and creative. On the other hand, it's a play about a kid who dies, and his mom describes it as not really having a story. That's just it. He plays the dead kid and people mourn over him. And we watched some of it, and yeah, it checks out. I'm surprised this was even greenlit.
Please, don't leave me.
If I pulled up to my kids' play, little tin of popcorn, and saw this, my mouth would be agape the entire show. I wouldn't shut the fuck up on the ride home. Evan first attempts suicide in 5th grade, going up to the roof of his school, but eventually being talked down by a teacher. He's involuntarily committed to a mental institution and meets the criteria for bipolar disorder. The crazy part is, he didn't even understand he did anything wrong until he realized he was staying in that institution, and that's when he started to lash out. Lithium ended up being the only thing that could help stabilize his mood, and that, combined with moving him into a home for troubled kids, ended up proving very beneficial for him. There they worked on communication, taking accountability, and just encouraged Evan to be a young boy. Because up to this point, it had seemed like he had fast-forwarded to his teenage years with his demeanor of being too cool for things, not really finding joy in a lot. But his parents saw improvement, and he eventually rejoined the family, found a school, was a great student. They thought that he was cured. He eventually talks about wanting to be taken off lithium because of the side effects, and they speak with his psychiatrist and he approves them, slowly weaning him off. And through that, he does start to become more talkative, but after some time, he doesn't seem well. Even on vacation, he just seems like he's not really there. He starts becoming anxious because of homework after school starts. So they set up an appointment with a psychiatrist to get him back on lithium. 2 days before that, he gets into an argument with his mom and goes to lock himself in his room. Dad goes to check on him and he's on his laptop. Says he's fine, he's just doing homework. Dad leaves, and within a couple minutes he returns to find an empty room. Evan had gone out his window, which led to an air shaft. And after banging on the superintendent's door to open the path there, they find Evan there on his back. He was just 15 years old. There's a lot of speculation in this doc, as you can assume. They do find a suicide note on the laptop that he had out, where he numbered reasons to stay or to go. His older half-brother read the note and wished he had discussed those thoughts with him because he could have related to him, having similar thoughts. These were thoughts many teenagers were having, like struggling to fit in, for example, the fear of failing. There's a lot of discussion about coping in grief, and you see different sides to it. Evan's grandmother had actually experienced something similar with her son in the past, with him taking his own life. And she doesn't remember finding him, blocking that out entirely. I believe even she recommends that earlier in the doc, to just get rid of it. Also, one of her lines,
"What is true is that life goes on, but not the way you wanted it to, and not the way you planned for it to."
Dana says when it comes to coping, you don't have a choice. She still can't believe it's real. She can't believe that the world continues to rotate without him. Hart volunteered to give beams to the home that helped Evan so much for a barn they would build up. So hopefully that can be an area other kids can get the therapy they need. And on one of the beams, there was an inscription for Evan. And I'll just show you what Dana had to say about it.
People can say, well, who's Evan? It doesn't matter. What matters is that, you know, somebody loved Evan enough to want to remember his name.
This doc is unsettling, for sure, and I do hope, the same way Hart made a film in the past for his brother who passed, trying to find some sort of meaning through it, I hope making this was somewhat cathartic for the parents, for the family, honestly. This was the last doc that I watched out of the 4, and this is where I was just tapped out on tears. It's like 8:30 in the morning, and I'm crying in my living room. Dog. Stop this. I was over it. You can't start your day on that. That's crazy. You can't cry and then make eggs. That's fucking insane. But here we are. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, subscribe because I have more content coming your way. Gamer subs, baby. Code Mr. GG 10% off. These are my lovely patrons. They are great and they support me monthly. Very cool of them. Very awesome. They get exclusive monthly videos over there on Patreon. Also, this movie sucked. And as always, I am Mr. GG and I am out. Bah.